and welcome to Media7. I'm Russell Brown. We're all about copyright content and connectivity on Media7 this week. We'll ask how a news organisation should handle content from social media and measure digital music. But first, Jose Barbosa explains how the fix was in and then out.
Hello there. Isn't the internet marvellous? I've just spent the last 6 hours watching a 24-hour-long YouTube video that emulates the idle ambient noise of the USS Enterprise. So yes, I think I can safely say, with some authority, that the internet is marvellous.
It's also completely mad. A complex menagerie of brain potpourri that jumps out at you like a poorly conceived visual analogy. But more importantly, it's also utterly borderless, and in the strange transitional period of history we find ourselves in, that's causing problems.
For example, I've just been sent a link to what appears to be an absolutely hilarious episode of The Big Bang Theory, but when I go to watch it, this message comes up.
The video you have requested is not available in your geographic region.
Basically, the website blocks video from shown to anybody who isn't from the United States.
If everyone anywhere could watch it, CBS would lose millions of dollars in licensing revenue it gets from broadcasters like TVNZ.
It's likely broadcasters wouldn't even buy The Big Bang Theory, certainly not at the current price. What would be the point? People could just watch it online for free. So as you'd expect, there are ways around geo-blocking. Morgan here is one of the co-hosts of a podcast called The Discourse, where they discuss things like this from every now and then. So Morgan, what are some of the ways that people get around geo-blocking?
Two main ways. First is proxying, which sometimes is free, so it's quite popular. The other way is a VPN, which is more secure, and I think it works better, but it tends to cost money.
Can we see it being used now?
Sure. For instance, if we wanted to watch Community on Hulu...
Which we can't.
Which we can't. Well, I just need to click down here and say, I would like to be in the US.
Oh, wow.
And then reloading this probably will get an ad, but ultimately what we'll get is the show.
Oh, wow, just like that. So strictly speaking, though, is this legal?
Oh, it's absolutely legal. Yeah, I think there's no question. I have spoken to lawyers about it. What is possibly a bone of contention is that the sites that you access the media from, the BBC iPlayer or Hulu or YouTube, will have terms of use which will probably say that you need to be in the country, but that doesn't mean you're breaking a law. It just means you're breaking the terms of use for that website, and I think that's much less serious. But I would rather pay that money to some forward-thinking company that would provide this content to me in New Zealand directly, but no one seems to be interested or capable of doing it in a really comprehensive way.
Recently, a local ISP gave it a crack. Fix's Global Mode did exactly the same thing as Morgan's VPN service, automatically, without all the fussing around.
Unfortunately, a few days after the service was launched, Fix suspended it. A press release at the time said,
"While legal opinions have supported Fix's Global Mode under New Zealand law, there are matters that require further consideration before continuing the service." It's been speculated that Sky and TVNZ applied some sort of strong-arm tactics, but both broadcasters deny they did.
The whole affair is indicative of that tension between the borderless world of the internet and the traditional model of content licensing.
Well, at the moment it seems to be a battle between the geeks and the lawyers, and I don't know about you, but my money would always be on the geeks.
Jose Barbosa there. I'm joined now by the man from the Internet, Telecommunications Users Association CEO, Paul Brislin.
Thank you.
And the man from the Telly Industry Group Think TV CEO, Rick Friesen. Welcome to you both.
Cool. Thank you.
Now, let's start with the big question. Was global mode a good thing, Paul?
Well, I think so, because it allowed you as a viewer to pay for the content that you wanted to consume. I watch a lot of TV. I want to reward the artists for the work. I'd like to be able to pay them. Currently I don't. I steal television. But if I was given the opportunity, as I would sign up. I'd join Netflix or Hulu or one of these providers and be quite happily paying my bills today.
Now, Rick, as a representative of the free-to-air broadcasters, was global mode a good thing?
No, of course. What Paul is saying is that he would happily pay that money to a foreign company and therefore support American broadcasters rather than support local broadcasters, which would then, that money would then go to support local programming, because the profits that are made from international programming, which are more profitable, go into producing local programming.
So in this case, if the customer's Paul, the customer isn't right.
Correct.
We asked for a statement from Fix, and they promised us one and didn't give us one. But who or what do you think spooked them into withdrawing the service after 4 days?
Look, I don't think it was the broadcasters. I have spoken to them, and I really do believe it was not the broadcasters. I think you have to look at the trail. They say it wasn't illegal, and I think that's probably right. You heard that in your article. But if you follow the money trail, it leads back to the distributors, back to the big studios. They are getting tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in international fees from selling those programs. That could be in jeopardy if those programs are available through another source. Sure, they'll get some revenue. Hulu would get the subscription revenue. It's not nearly the type of money that is being paid now by the broadcasters. So my suspicion, and it's only my suspicion, would be that the studios themselves put pressure on Fix to stop it.
And I presume it's a good deal easier for those studios to make one sale per territory for a large amount of money than deal with potentially millions of customers.
I don't suppose it's really about ease of sale. It's more about the actual dollars. How much money is there?
What's your response to that, Paul? I mean, basically Rick's saying you can't have what you want.
Yeah, and unfortunately they're offering that precisely around the world already today. And there are a few issues there. As a consumer, I would love to be able to ring up HBO, for instance, and say, you give me Game of Thrones and I will pay you for it. And unfortunately, we have a sort of a channel model that requires that I go through a series of steps, and I wait until, in New Zealand anyway, I wait until Sky says I can or can't watch it at a certain time when Sky decides that I can and can't watch it, and only after I have paid for a whole bunch of other stuff that I actually don't want. I just want to buy that one TV show as it comes up.
You're talking about basically about a channel model that is dominated by Sky, because all those things particularly the programs that people will want to watch on these services, are all on one channel Soho that you have to buy the rest of Sky to get.
You do. You can't just buy those individual programs. I can't watch them on my iPad or on any other device. I have to watch them on a TV in the lounge at a certain time of day as prescribed by somebody else. And unfortunately the world has changed, and while a channel model like that used to work extremely well years ago, I think with the advent of the internet you've got too many other choices. I can be watching Game of Thrones 30 minutes after it's aired in the US and not paid anybody a cent except for my ISP. And I don't think that's right. I think we're raising a generation of kids who don't value copyright material precisely because they see either I do it legally and stupidly, or I can just get it as I wish and get it for free.
And as we saw in Jose's track there, the more sophisticated internet users are already using third-party VPNs. And I get the impression that a lot more of them are doing it since the file sharing bill passed last year.
That's right. Waikato University has a unit that's had a look at this, WAND, and they have said on one particular ISP that traffic through the torrents, where most people will get their copyright material, dropped by about 25% following the introduction of the law, which is a good thing. Fewer people are torrenting. However, the increase in VPN traffic went up by about 25%. So what's happened is we've driven the whole thing underground. Instead of allowing people to pay for the content, we've criminalised them, and we've said, okay, you can't buy your content locally. You have to wait until it screens or be a criminal. And too many people are saying, well, that's fine, I'll be a criminal.
Rick, I get the impression that consumer piracy has already driven the free-to-air broadcasters in particular into much more of a so-called day and date model of screening. You know, programs will often be on only a week after they screen in the US.
Yep. Look, Paul's right. I mean, the broadcasters must respond to this type of challenge. And the reason they're available on demand singly, rather than buying the whole package, is that once they've aired, once they've had their premiere screening, the value's down, and therefore that's the second window. They haven't had their first window here. So broadcasters have to respond to that, and they have to start running more programming sooner to the air date, the original air date, whether that be in the UK or the US. We saw, for example, that the TV3 ran X Factor within, I think, 4 hours. of the U.S. And that's the sort of thing that we have to get into more. There are risks with that because they preempt a lot more, but I think that's the way it happens. Because once that first date is passed, then there's no problem. Then you can get it online. You can get it on the local broadcaster's website. You can get it through their video on demand.
Do you think that the distribution system as it is going to come under increasing pressure?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There's going to be more pressure. The broadcasters are going to have to work closer to those dates. It makes it more difficult, more challenging, because their seasons are different and all those sorts of things. But I think they'll absolutely have to do that.
Because, Paul, there is also the problem of not just the rights to the programs, but the rights within programs, especially music.
Oh, that's right.
Which is the reason that we don't see a lot of BBC, say, music documentaries here, is that it's too hard to clear the music.
Oh, absolutely. I many years ago, I worked in subtitling here in TVNZ, writing up the captions for the deaf viewers. And we would all too often come across a TV show that would have the wrong music playing because they couldn't clear the rights. Things like that getting in the way of just allowing somebody to watch a show. As a consumer, as a customer, I watch a lot of television. I do think we're living in a golden age of television. The content that's out there is tremendous these days, and yet I find myself unable to watch it legally. It seems quite bizarre to me that we still have this whole channel system when, in fact, most people are quite happy to pay for it to be downloaded themselves.
In a related matter, the Commerce Commission has announced this week that it's going to look into Sky's content deals with ISPs, which have basically transferred that very tightly bundled model. You have to buy all of it, you can't just buy a bit of it, over to the coming UFB television world. Are you excited that they're going to do that? What do you expect to come from it?
Well, it's a very interesting model. What they're doing is looking at whether or not Sky is abusing its position of power, whether it is introducing contractual clauses to the ISPs that mean they can't look for content elsewhere. And that's really quite critical. As we move into, as you say, the UFB, the ultra-fast broadband, a lot more of this content will be delivered over the internet.
Well, they basically can't do business with any other content provider.
That's right.
And they can't offer Sky's content in any way that Sky tells them they can't.
Yeah, well, Sky's a little hamstrung here because their rights with the content originators say this is for broadcast or for what they call channel on the internet. You can only offer online what you've had on television. Whereas most consumers look to an internet service to be one episode at a time when I want to watch it on any device I want. Sky simply can't offer those rights. It doesn't have them. The problem is that the rights holders have this complex series of windows. They have the rights for certain shows at certain times on certain channels, and if you don't fit into that model, well, too bad you can't have it. So that is going to have to be addressed, and quite quickly, because customers have moved on.
Rick, last word, what attitude are the free-to-air broadcasters going to take to this Commerce Commission investigation? Are you pleased to see it happen?
Oh, definitely. I think that Sky has abused its position carefully.
And it's a nice way of putting it, actually.
and so they do need to be looked at, and I think they do need to be reined in several ways. And certainly, I think the commission is a good idea, and I expect the broadcasters will want to participate and in a positive way.
Paul Brislin and Rick Friesen, thank you for your time. Now, after the break, the file sharing bill in digital music and how news organisations handle your content.